This is Chuck Trimble, Oglala Lakota from the Oglala Lakota tribe in South Dakota, and author of the book Ieska. You are listening to Authenticity Radio with Slade Suter.
Welcome to you. Pachamama is our subject today, and I'm happy you're here. Mother Earth. This is Slade Suter. I have much gratitude in my heart today because lynne-twist rejoins Authenticity Radio once again. Now, lynne-twist, if you remember, is a global activist, a teacher, an international fundraiser, author of The Soul of Money, and the co-founder of the Pachamama-Alliance. So, lynne-twist, welcome back to you.
Thank you, Slade. It's a delight and a joy to be with you again.
It's wonderful to have you here. So, we just for our listeners, we just finished with The Soul of Money. So please listen to this last broadcast, and we embark upon this journey into Mother Earth and Pachamama. So Lynn, please share with us, what is Pachamama?
Well, the word Pachamama is a Quechua word. The Quechua language and the Quechua people exists in the Amazon rainforest and the Andes in South America, and it's the largest indigenous language group in the world. So the word Pachamama comes from the Quechua people, but many indigenous people around the world use it to refer to what we would call Mother Earth. What they would say is that it really refers to something really even larger than that. They call it Pachamama, the earth, the sky, the universe, and all time. So Pachamama is a very broad, their understanding, indigenous people's understanding of the world is a kind of a larger reality than often modern world people like you and I see all the time. So the earth, the sky, the universe, and all time.
In all time, meaning the past, present, and future?
Yes,
Wow.
But a good shorthand is Mother Earth. That's a pretty good title.
Okay. It's your Mother Earth.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So Lynn, you are the co-founder of the Pachamama-Alliance. What is this alliance?
The Pachamama-Alliance is an alliance between the indigenous peoples of the Amazon and the Andes and conscious, committed people in the modern world like you and the listeners to this program for the sustainability of life itself. We at Pachamama Alliance work with indigenous peoples of the Andes and the Amazon and modern world people all over the world to find the keys to bringing forth an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, and socially just human presence on this planet. And that's what we do.
Wow, sustaining life itself. It seems like it's a fairly noble cause.
Well, it's a kind of a big issue today. You know, the work that we do in the Amazon and the Andes to empower indigenous people, particularly to protect their lands and culture. They do it not for themselves only, but for the future of life. The Amazon in particular, many people call the lungs of the planet. It's absolutely essential that we preserve the Amazon rainforest for the future of life. And particularly beautiful is the gift that indigenous people have to give us about how they see a life being a thriving, just, and sustainable future for all. So it's beautiful work, and we do educational programs all over the world in now 74 countries to educate on the environmental crisis, the social justice crisis, and the spiritual crisis, so that we can see that it's all one crisis in our consciousness, and we can turn it around. So that's the work of Pachamama Alliance, and it's beautiful, inspiring, and powerful work.
Okay, so Lynn, There's a friend of mine by the name of Fiu from Japan, and he's involved with the Pachamama-Alliance. And he told me of this story, a beautiful story about a condor and an eagle. And they're flying in the sky at the same time. Can you tell us this story?
Yes, it's actually an ancient prophecy that comes from the Andes and the Amazon. It's been told for millennium that this time in history, the time that we're in right now, has been prophesied for millennium to be the time of the prophecy of the eagle and the condor. And the eagle refers to, the eagle people refers to people who perceive life primarily through the mind. And that's people in the modern world really like us. And the prophecy says that by this time in history, right around the end of the 20th century, the beginning of the 21st century, the eagle people will have developed the capacity of the mind, and they'll be at this kind of zenith in their capacity to do things with the mind that are simply breathtaking and extraordinary, including inventing tools that will extend the capacity of the mind, like probably that's a prophecy about the computer, and that the eagle people will be materially rich beyond any previous generation's imagination, but they will be spiritually impoverished, and their very survival will be at risk. While the condor people, and that refers to people who live primarily through the wisdom of the heart, the five senses, and are rooted in the spiritual world, and that refers to the indigenous people on the planet. Mm-hmm. The condor people will arrive at a kind of zenith at this time in history, the end of the 20th century, beginning of the 21st, with their understanding of the spirit world, other species, the five senses, and the natural world itself. And they will have an incredible relationship with the kin of all life. And they will be at a kind of zenith in their deep and profound wisdom of the heart. But they will be materially impoverished to their peril in any encounter with the evil world, so their very survival will be at risk. And it's time in history which is called the end, the changing of one 500-year Pachacuti to another 500-year Pachacuti, the end of the 9th Pachacuti and entering the 10th. Right around this time in history, the eagle people and the condor people, or the eagle and the condor, will remember that they are each other and will come back together, reunite, and fly together in the same skies, wing to wing, and the world will come back into balance. The heart and the mind of humanity will be reunited, and the world will come back into balance for the next 500 years. And the prophecy also says that for the last 500 years, this is a prophecy from South America, they say, right around the end of the 15th century, right around 1492, for 500 years until about 1992, or the end of the 20th century, was the 500 years of dominance and darkness. That was called the Pachacuti, which is the 500-year earthly cycle. And the next Pachacuti, which begins right around now, from 1992-ish to the next 500 years, the end of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st, is the next Pachacuti of balance and light, 500 years. And the prophecy says for the 25 years changing from one Pachacuti to the next, Pachamama herself, Mother Earth, will humble her creatures from the 500 years of dominance and darkness, which was the last Pachacuti, the character of the last Pachacuti, the Pachacuti of dominance and darkness for 500 years. Mm-hmm. At the end of that 500-year cycle, right around now, Pachamama herself will humble her creatures through huge climactic events, so they will remember their rightful role in relationship with her. And there will be earthquakes and tsunamis and climactic events of horrendous and unprecedented nature. And that will happen for 25 years to humble all creatures to remember their rightful role in relationship with her, Pachamama, as we go into the Pachacuti of balance and light, which is the next 500-year cycle. So that is the prophecy of the eagle and the condor. It's a very hopeful prophecy about this time in history, and it's been told for millennia about right now, about us, and about the world we live in.
I just love it. It made me remember just that, remembering the eagle recognizing the condor and the condor recognizing the eagle.
Yes.
There's something that feels so right about that. It's recognizing not only the polarities of life, the people of the mind and people of the heart, but it's also at the same time recognizing everyone in this planet.
Yes, it really is an integration of the longing of the heart and the genius of the mind in all of us and in everyone everywhere.
Mm. And also recognizing the planet itself.
Yes, exactly. And that we need to be humbly reverent with our mother, and we've forgotten that she's really in charge.
Yeah, so we're kind of in for a little spanking, not or maybe a correction.
Yes, yeah, a major course correction.
Mm-hmm. Now stand in the corner until I tell you can come out.
Yeah, it's very. I think it's even though it says there's 25 years of climactic turmoil, will change from one Pachacuti to another. Which doesn't sound fun and hasn't been fun, and will probably get a lot worse. Here in California, we're heading into a terrible drought. There's extreme temperatures all over the United States right now. I know this is not going to be an easy passage, but we will. The prophecy says we will get through it, and it will be important to do this humbling work where we surrender to the mother. And I really feel that's a powerful, powerful, and blessed message.
Mm-hmm. And how I guess it's going to be kind of important how we do this. Being humbled is important, and how we. It seems like we can make it easy, or we can make it very difficult on ourselves.
Well, there's many organizations now using the word resilience rather than sustainability. And resilience is probably an appropriate word to use regarding this period, because resilience really means finding a source of local food, understanding the watershed you're living in, really connecting with your neighbors so that you can care for each other in a disaster. Resilience is also, it's about sustainability and learning to live a more sustainable life and a more resilient life, knowing that, some challenging times are upon us, and we will make it if we care for one another rather than try to hole up and deny it, resist it, and just take care of ourselves. And so there's a beauty in a disaster. Some of our most horrendous disasters have brought out the best qualities of the human family in our love for one another and our capacity to care and be there for each other. And it's almost like now on a planetary scale, we get to go through that. We get to find out who we really are and what we're really up to and what we really care about and what we really stand for. And I actually, I think that's it. It'll be very challenging, and already is, but it'll be a blessing. It's really the financial crisis that we're all going through is part of it, and it hurts. But we all know that the real growth in our lives has come from, in many ways, the darkest times, the failures, the upsets, the heartbreaks, and when our heart breaks open, that's when we really have breakthroughs. And I think this is the big, big part of the times we're living in. And if we can hold it as a blessing, if we can hold it as a transformation, kind of walking on coals, on fire walking almost, we will become ever more ourselves, and the resilience of the human spirit will prevail, even though there will be some pain, some hurt, some challenges. We will return to our courage, the heart of who we are.
Well, I just love that image, too. It seems like us humans have a tendency of coming together with a common enemy. It seems like it pulls a people or a group or a family together if you have a common threat. And as you speak, it's just quite the opposite, isn't it? It's a need for an understanding that we no longer need the enemy. And that's that we are part of everyone.
Right. It's really moving from fear to love, from the love of power to the power of love. It has the power because it's so gigantic. No one can escape it. Mm-hmm. You know, this thing that some people deny called climate change is the change in the climate of the understanding of who we are. It's the climate of our own being. That's the real climate change, and it's a climate transformation, and I welcome it, and I know it's going to be challenging. But you know, when you think about people who go to the Olympics, rather than use a war analogy, I want to use an Olympic analogy. When people say they want to be the best they can possibly be, it's painful. It hurts. It's, you know, there's injuries. There's, you know, sweat and tears and incredible challenges. But what comes of it is worth every single minute. And that's kind of, this is like the Olympics for the human family.
That's nice. I like the idea. Yes, we're sweating.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I guess that's the really cool part, isn't it, Lynn? I mean, to really recognize, and the more we reach out, the more we understand this, the more we reach out to each other, the easier, the more resilient this transition can be.
Right. And the job really, you know, is to hospice the natural death of the systems and structures that really we're so clear no longer serve us. And they are dying. They're becoming dysfunctional. They're, you know, the banking system, the crony system, all the things that are just so, we know they don't work. They are dying. But to hospice their natural death and to midwife of the new systems and structures that we now understand will support the future of life itself. So it's the work of hospice and midwife, and those both are acts of witness and love. To hospice the death of the old structures and systems that no longer serve us, while we midwife the birth of the new structures and systems that are consistent with a thriving, just, and sustainable way of life. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful thing to hospice and to midwife, and that's the job of our time in our own lives, in our communities, and in the world. And that's a job of relatedness, of missing, of being there for each other. That's really where our joy comes from. That's where our transformation always exists, and that's really the source of our prosperity as well.
So I was just thinking that part of that, the old systems that are being laid to rest, is that it's not that they don't want to change, it's that they don't know how to change.
I think so. I mean, you know, it depends on which systems we're talking about, but most of them were born in this you or me paradigm, born in a belief in scarcity and with a recognition that fear is the driver. And that, you know, that has some real effectiveness and has really manipulated us for so long, but now that's just not valid. And and so we need to as long as we need to resource the institutions of humankind from a different place, from a completely different ground of being. You know, before the internet, and before quantum physics, and before the theory of relativity, and before discovering we were revolving around the sun rather than the sun was revolving around us, you know, things stopped making sense, and then we had a revelation, and we realized, oh my God, we kind of had it wrong. The sun is not revolving around the Earth. The Earth is revolving around the sun. Holy moly, that changes everything, and it now everything kind of makes sense in a new way.
Mm-hmm.
And the discovery of theory of relativity, the discovery of quantum physics, this open source miracle of the internet, these are things that actually change the very system of beliefs and the very fundamental understanding of the world. And that's kind of what I'm talking about here. The internet itself is such an example of it is taking down. It's not attacking, but it's allowing the old structures and systems, old monopolies to die, to become irrelevant, and to die their natural death, while the open source access for everybody to everything, free and available, is we're hospicing that into existence. Now, of course, the internet also has its dark side like everything else, but if you really think about it, this is all happening now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the old banking system where you had to go into the bank and talk to somebody you were scared of to get a loan, all of those things are starting to break down now, and you can crowdsource real estate. I mean, there's so many things that are examples of what I'm talking about, but I'm really clear. There has never, ever been a time with this seismic, you know, so deeply fundamental transformation. And what a thrill to be part of it. What a thrill to hospice and midwife this period of time in whatever way we can in our own lives, in our communities, in our states, in our countries, and in our world.
Wow. And to midwife, the greatest abilities or the greatest qualities of a midwife is, what is that? Is, again, compassion, understanding, love.
Yes. In some cases, the institutions are dying. In some cases, the systems inside them are dying, and the institution can survive and thrive.
And it seems like the spirit lives. I mean, the spirit of the ingenuity will continue and maybe transform. Yes,
right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, that's I like the idea, and then the midwives, the preparation for new ways, new methods of being able to see ourselves in a way that we are connected, that we are a community, that we are no longer separatists. It's very difficult to live a separatist identity today with the internet.
It's so obvious that we're all interconnected. It is almost like the mirror image of you know, I work in the rainforest now, so the rainforest is such a teacher. Everything depends on everything else. That which is dying is food for the next thing that's being born, and not just the animals, but the plants. The decomposition of everything is the food for the next evolutionary moment. And the beauty of really letting go, of trying to hold on to things that are ready to go, and compost them into the next thing. I mean, you know, compost is so beautiful when you think about it. There's this wonderful phrase we use in one of our Pachamama programs called the Awakening the Dreamer Symposium, that we've had an unconscious, unexamined assumption that you could actually throw something away. But where is away? There's no such place. You can't throw anything away. You know, that there's no away. And we've begun to realize that. There's the opportunity to compost, to transform, to renew, reuse, recreate, repurpose. And everything has value, even that even the institutions that are dying, they can be composted into beautiful, new, exquisite expressions of what their original purpose was. Mm-hmm. And that's really what's happening. It's like a giant rainforest.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it's wonderful. And matter of fact, the life of a caterpillar goes through a kind of a metamorphosis, perhaps on a willing way. Who knows? And they can willfully go through a transformation themselves and recreate themselves in a way that will be, what was that word? Resilient or sustainable.
Yes. Right. And the wonderful metaphor that you're using with the caterpillar is, it is true that the caterpillar, at a certain point in its evolutionary path, every caterpillar becomes an overconsumptive, voracious little monster that eats everything in sight. And a caterpillar, just an everyday caterpillar, will, at a certain point in its journey of life, eat hundreds of times its own weight and become this bulky, brown, little fat guy, overconsumptive monster. And at that point in the caterpillar's evolution, the imaginal cells inside the caterpillar, imaginal cells like Imagine, kick in. And even though they're in the minority, their job is to find each other so that they cluster enough that they can become the genetic directors of the future of the caterpillar. And the other cells, when the imaginal cells cluster enough, then surrender and become the nutritive soup out of which the little fat brown caterpillar creates the absolute miracle through the imaginal cells now being in charge of the caterpillar's future, the absolute miracle of a butterfly, unpredictable miracle of a butterfly.
Wow.
And that is your show, and you and the people you have on your show and the people listening to your show are, I say, imaginal cells. The imaginal cells in the body of the caterpillar of our culture. And if we're awake and we cluster like we do around your message and the message of the people that you bring on your show, we become genetic directors of the future of the caterpillar, and we can create the unpredictable miracle of a butterfly.
How fun.
Yeah.
What a fun way of looking at that. What a wonderful way of looking at that. I love it. Thank you, Lynn.
And in every caterpillar does not become a butterfly. I've learned this from evolutionary biologists. In the ones that don't die fat, chubby little brown worms because the imaginal cells did not cluster and find each other enough. So it's really important, if we use that metaphor from nature, for the imaginal cells, the people who are awake, the people who are conscious, to cluster, find each other, and wake other people up, to create enough of a critical mass. It doesn't need to be the majority, but a critical mass that can midwife the society, the culture, the civilization into the butterfly that we want to become.
I've never heard that before. This is what a wonderful image, and what a purpose that would be, to be something so small as a cell, and to have such a great role in joining with others, into creating ourselves into something that we don't quite know, but we absolutely feel.
That is exactly who you are, Slade, because that's what you're doing. That's what your show is all about. That's, I think, why you love this work so much, because you're one of the imaginal cells gathering the other imaginal cells and making sure everybody out there who's conscious enough to become an imaginal cell has a shot at it, because I feel like that's really what you're doing. And Elizabeth Sartoris, who's a very, very brilliant evolutionary biologist, and Nori Huddle, who's another evolutionary biologist, they've educated many of us about this caterpillar butterfly biological truth, and it's and both of them and others, Willis Harman, have applied it to the evolution of humankind right now, and I'm really clear that's what you're doing.
Wow.
I hope it's what I'm doing.
We're clustering together, Lynn.
Yes.
Stay close.
I will.
Okay, so I tell you what, where do we go now? As far as Mother Earth is concerned, as Pachamama, now that we have both big birds in the sky, and they're looking each other over, and they're going, I wonder, who are you? What's our next step?
I think it's really to hospice and midwife, as I said, and to also educate oneself on how to bring forth an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, and socially just human presence on this planet.
Wow.
Now,
can you say that one more time, just for our listeners, and for me too?
This is the purpose statement of the Awakening the Dreamer, Changing the Dream Symposium of the Pachamama-Alliance, which is our educational program that we deliver in Spain and in 73 other countries. So it's called Awakening the Dreamer, Changing the Dream, and that title comes from the indigenous people telling us that the modern world is caught in a dream that's becoming a nightmare for ourselves in all forms of life, a dream of more of everything, and we need to change the dream of the modern world, and that will actually reach into our current behavior because we always line up with what we're dreaming for, and if we can change our dreams, that's really where the power is. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to say this, so this program that the Pachamama-Alliance invented out of that mandate from the indigenous people to change the dream of the modern world. And that's how to change our everyday actions, by really changing our dreams. We created a program, an educational program that's a half day long, called Awakening the Dreamer, Changing the Dream. And it's delivered by 4,000 facilitators who are trained, who live in 74, 75, 76 countries and deliver this program. And you can go online, pachamama.org or awakeningthedreamer.org to find it. And the mission of that 3, 4, 5-hour program is to bring forth an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, and socially just human presence on this planet. So that's the phrase you wanted me to repeat. And it's the mission of the educational program, so that people leave that 4 or 5-hour program understanding the environmental crisis, the social justice crisis, the spiritual crisis, how they're all actually an expression of a crisis in human consciousness, how to wake up from our trance, the trance that has us dreaming something that is not healthy for us or for the future of the world, and redream a future that is healthy for us in the future of the world, and bring forth an environmentally sustainable, which is the new dream, environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, and socially just human presence on this planet. So that's so great that you asked me about that, so I can tell you this is the program that I would love for people to know about.
Violence-free.
Yes.
Violence-free. Violence-free. Yeah, this and that, I guess that's there's the key, isn't it? The Mohandas K. Gandhi, non-violence, one word, is not just without violence. It is a way of life. Exactly. And so this is the method. This is the way that we are to walk in changing the system.
Yeah, and I think we really need to change the dream, really look and see what we think we want, and realize that what we really want is a sufficient, whole, simple, nourishing, loving life. Not more of everything. Not accumulating and how many houses and toys and boats and all that, do we really need? And to realize that the choices we make at this time in history will determine the future of life for the next 1,000 years. That's actually the times we're living in. The choices you and I make, and the people listening to this program, will determine the future of life for the next 1,000 years. That sounds a little scary, maybe a little bit of a burden, but I say no. I say it ennobles our life. It gives our life incredible meaning. it gives us the opportunity, the privilege to live the most meaningful lives any generation of humankind has ever lived.
Well,
and that's a gift.
It is a gift, and it is a scary message if we're a cell and if we're alone. And it becomes much less frightening when we realize that there's millions of imaginal cells clustering together. And that's what takes away the fear element, and again, with love and compassion.
Exactly, right. And that's consciousness, too.
Well,
that's authenticity. That's the name of your program. It's being authentic with life rather than wrapped up in being absent.
There we go. Authenticity Radio with lynne-twist. And do you have a message that you would like to deliver to humankind in the light of Pachamama?
Yes. I would like people to know that what I just said is, I think, quite true, and I can't prove it, but I stand for it. That the choices we make will determine the future of life for the next 1,000 years. And if those choices are in service of bringing forth an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, and socially just human presence on this planet, those choices will ensure, nourish, enhance, and honor life for the next 1,000 years and beyond. And that living that way will give your life deep meaning, incredible satisfaction, unlimited prosperity, and profound fulfillment.
Choose to nourish life with lynne-twist. Lynne, thank you again for joining us on Authenticity Radio.
Thank you. It's a joy to talk to you, and you're a beacon of authenticity, illumination, and love yourself.
Wow. Thank you. This is Slade Suter. Until next time, be authentic, be true, Pachamama, and be free.
Real people and real authentic talk. This is Authenticity Radio. Conflict is a choice you know. In order to gain a new perspective and how to resolve conflict in your organization, business, or family, go to authenticityradio.com.
Come on! This is Authenticity Radio.
Authenticity Radio with Slade Suter.